Today we're looking at the PHOIBOS Eagle Ray watch. Is it one of the best value compressor style watches you can buy on the market? Well, let's find out. Welcome back to Casual Watch Reviews. So we have indeed got the new PHOIBOS Eagle Ray compressor style watch in for review today. Any regular viewers to the channel will know that I jump at the chance to review PHOIBOS watches. I think they're one of the best value micro brands out there based on their quality, attention to detail and their price range. Impressively, this watch retails for $360. Let's look at the specs now and see whether it's worth you parting with your hard-earned cash to get one of these PHOIBOS watches. Before we kick off, a big thanks to PHOIBOS. Full disclosure here, I am an affiliate of PHOIBOS, so if you're interested in picking up one of these watches, there's a link in the description down below and you'll see the paid promotion sign above because they have kindly sent me in this watch for review. Here we're looking at the green dial version. It comes in a blue, a black version and also a red version, and the way that they do their dials now is a step up each time. This is probably the 5th or 6th PHOIBOS I've had the pleasure of reviewing on the channel, and this is very in keeping with the other Eagle Ray models that they sell. Similar dial layout, but this one has that compressor style, so it has the inward facing bezel. The reason we commonly refer to these as compressor style is there is a specific style of dive watch known as a compressor watch. The reason it's known as a compressor watch is the case itself compressed under pressure, and this was really designed specifically for dive use where the machining wasn't to the same tolerance as it is today, so there was a lot of water integrity issues with vintage watches. This watch is rated at 200 and this has a standard screw down case back, and this will be more than sufficient for you to go swimming, any daily activities, even diving in. Most recreational divers don't even go below 50 meters. The reason they call this a compressor style watch is those vintage compressor watches were commonly associated, not always, but a lot of the times, with having two crowns on them. One of those romantic notions in watches that compressor is actually more to do with the case than it is to do with a watch having two crowns. But this one does have two crowns, so it's a departure from the last Eagle Ray that had a single crown, but a very similar design aesthetic, and they've done it to a T. The tolerances on this case is impeccable. The fitted end links fit perfectly, a very solid feeling case, and the bracelet on these watches, here we have screw in links, we have a beautiful deployant clasp. The bracelets on these PHOIBOS watches, I will be so bold as to say, are probably the best bracelets on a watch in this price range. They far exceed anything that Seiko or Citizen put on their watches in this price range. It's comfortable, very well made. We've got high polishing down the center links on here, very similar to a vintage Seamaster bracelet, I would say. Their own twist on it. We also have screw in links on here, which is a great touch on a watch like this. I commented on my last PHOIBOS review about how good the bracelet was, and they've carried it over onto this. They're doing an excellent job of their bracelets. While we're talking about the case, let's look at those all important case stats. So here we have a very wearable 41mm case, 47mm from lug to lug, again shorter for a dive watch like this, so a very wearable size, and a 20mm from lug to lug. One of the truly great engineering feats that PHOIBOS put into their watches is, even though they are on the larger size, they are a dive style watch, they have a very low center of gravity which wears towards the wrist, so it means that even though it's a larger watch, very comfortable to wear. Now that may seem like a given, but there's some main brand watches that I've reviewed, like Squale for example, or Squall, that their center of gravity is totally off on some of their watches and they wear quite uncomfortably because of that. Also, for your $360, you're getting full sapphire crystal, a very nice dial. The dials really capture the light on these PHOIBOS watches. This one is a lovely emerald green with a sunburst from the center that fades into black as we get to the outer ring, which nicely blends into the inner rotating bezel, which is fully loomed on here with 15 layers of Superluminova BGW9, so you get that lovely glow like you would get from a Seiko watch. This has the NH35A movement in there, so it's a TMI movement made by the Seiko family of companies. It can be regulated. It doesn't hold regulation as well depending on what position the watch is on, but that's synonymous with most Japanese movements in this price range. You have to really step up to one of the higher end Japanese movements. This one, I've been wearing it for a week. It's keeping very good time, -3 seconds a day. Looking at the hands, we have a beautiful lollipop second hand with its elongated red tip that's hitting the marks perfectly and a lovely sweep to it. We also have those now iconic PHOIBOS syringe style hands, which pay homage to vintage watches like Blaupau and a few dive watches of that era. We also have a date window at the 3 o'clock position with its raised and applied surround, silver surround on there, and all the indices are applied as well. The only thing about the dial that doesn't make a lot of sense to me is they have this outer chapter ring here that also has the Roman numerals on it as well. The inner rotating bezel is very smooth action, but it's not ratcheted, so that means that it's free flowing, can go both ways. Now the idea here is that you select the increment that you want and then push and screw the crown back in. The problem is you have to be very careful that when you push to screw the crown back in, that you don't slightly move the bezel. It takes some getting used to for you to hit the mark that you're on and then screw the crown back in, and it doesn't slightly jump backwards. So it's not like a outer dive bezel where you're clicking it and then you can't move it. It only moves in one direction. This will move in multiple directions. Whilst we're looking at the crown, lovely knurling on there with the King Octopus logo proudly on there. Both are screw down to maintain that water resistance, using that great PHOIBOS design. If you like the design, then this is just a continuation of those other ranges in the Eagle Ray. I am definitely biased and favourable towards PHOIBOS. I think out of all the watch micro brands that I've reviewed, there's a handful that I think can produce consistently high quality watches, and PHOIBOS is one of them. But more importantly, let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and I'll see you next time on Casual Watch Reviews.